Halo Infinite is finally here and everybody is playing it, and a lot of people are enjoying it quite a bit. However, Bloomberg recently released an article where they took a look back at the development history of Halo Infinite and have a little bit of insider info as to some of the challenges of getting the game released in the current state that it is in. Let's go over that article and some of the interesting points that Jason Schrier talked about. But before we do, thank you so much for watching. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Oh, it didn't activate. My subscribe button isn't activated. What is happening? Reset. There. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to know when my content goes live. Thank you so much to everybody who has subscribed thus far. So hopping into it, let's just get into the story. Basically, Halo Infinite had some development troubles at the beginning. You might remember all the Craig memes and the early demo that was released. And the fact that the internet kind of went out of their way and made fun of it because it wasn't in the state that it should have been. Since then, Xbox has gone and commented on this, saying, yeah, we should have realized that it was in a bad state. Quoting the Bloomberg article, they referenced something from before. We should have known before and just been honest with ourselves, Phil Spencer, Xbox head, said in a recent interview with British GQ magazine. We were there not out of desperation, but more out of hope. And I don't think hope is a great development strategy. That's via Bloomberg. Now, you remember this is where the Craig meme came from. This is where a lot of people criticized it for where it was at graphically at the time. We know now that gameplay seemed largely intact and doing quite well, but the amount of polish that they were able to add in that short period of time has done a lot to add to those feelings of positivity that people are having now that they have the game in hand. However, there was a time when Xbox was dead set on releasing this with the launch of the console. And that was for obvious reasons. They needed a big tentpole game to launch the console with. Some of the other quotes in the article talk about, by the summer of 2019, Halo Infinite was in crisis mode. This is summer of 2019, so about a year and change away from when they wanted to launch it. The studio decided it cut almost 2/3 of the entire planned game, leaving managers to instruct some designers to come to the office and do nothing while the studio figured out the next move. That's via Bloomberg again. So I know this sounds crazy or something like that, but we hear time and time again about all these stories where games just go through these massive sweeping changes in order to launch them in a state where they're playable, basically. I've heard some people say that like the fact that any games are ever made is a miracle, and that's because there are all these challenges happening behind the scenes that we never know about. Halo Infinite also included. So in the article, they also talk about the game engine that they use to build Halo Infinite, how it has a ton of tech debt because it's built off old Bungie tech to the point where engineers would make fun of it and call it, I believe it was tech bankruptcy. So there was also that discussed in the piece. But let's talk about what they ended up doing once they brought on Staten, once they figured out that the game wasn't going to launch at that time. Through this piece. It's a really good piece. There's a ton more context over in the Bloomberg piece, so go check out the full thing if you want to read more. It soon became clear to some on the team that even with the compromises, getting Halo Infinite into decent shape by the following fall would be impossible. Still, the timing of the release didn't seem up for discussion. Microsoft told 343 it had to be a launch game for the next Xbox, which meant releasing it in November 2020. So as I said, here's Xbox just saying, we need a big tentpole game to launch our console with, and really they did. Instead, it was sort of interesting what happened. So obviously no Halo. They made the decision to delay it a year, especially after what happened with Cyberpunk. I think that was the right call. And now we have a game that, like I said, a lot of people are enjoying and having a great time with. But back then, it was a criticism, a valid criticism. Xbox didn't launch the Series X with any big tentpole franchises until, recently when they've really hit their stride with their slate of releases. That is going to continue into the future, but basically it was a whole year delay, and then they were hit with COVID and everything. So yeah. So what happened? The demo changed all that. Microsoft said on August 11, 2020 that it would delay the game, though it felt the exact timing vague. When Staten arrived, he pushed his bosses to let 343 take his time, presenting them with a list of features that would make Halo Infinite a success if time weren't the only factor. Here's a list of all the things we could do to make this game excellent, he recalls telling them. Here's what more time buys us. Again, via Bloomberg. So he was able to say, look, if we delay it, here's everything that we're going to be able to do for the game and release it. And I'm glad Staten came on board, because months prior to when they were supposed to launch, they were still promising co-op, and they've had to make a lot of hard decisions and sacrifices to release the game in the state that it is in currently, which seems largely good. Again, mostly positive reactions out there. But hearing that they have to work on the game engine, which has tech bankruptcy, hearing that Microsoft was still pushing for it. And then I think not only their own demo made it very clear that they had to delay it, I think the Cyberpunk issue also made it very clear that, hey, this isn't something that we're going to be able to just sneak out and release. So after 1 year, they were able to remove some of the stuff. They were able to add, the Bloomberg article talks about how they were able to add Marines that sort of showed up and followed you around and sort of made it feel like you were on an adventure with them as opposed to just running around by yourself. And I'm still having a really good time with it. I'm starting my second full Legendary playthrough. I'm about a little, maybe halfway through the game. I'm kind of going a lot faster because I've done that a few times, and I'm really enjoying it. The final quote was about the result of everything. For now, Halo players are content to play the version 343 is releasing. It just has a really good balance of new and old, which can cater to classic and newer fans alike, says Marcus Lovejoy, who competed in Halo's professional esports league under the name Alumnite before becoming a team manager. That has been one of the biggest game changers. So, yeah, Halo Infinite's out. People are having a good time. And really, at the end of the day, that's why people play games, right? I'm really, really enjoying it. I would have loved to see what those original visions were, but I'm pretty content with the idea that we're going to get massive updates to this world going forward into the future. And I can't wait to see and hear more about the story and what happened in between Halo 5 and Infinite via the storytelling that they're going to offer in the future. Let me know what you think about Halo Infinite in the comments below. The Bloomberg piece, if you just read the headline, it seems like it's just going to be like a hit piece, which is sort of weird timing, given that the game just came out and people are celebrating it. But it's actually not that. It's very short, and they just kind of talk about how the engine isn't really up to date, and there were some features that had to be sacrificed, but the game is out and everybody likes it. So to me, I'm just like, okay. When I read stuff like that, I'm just like, all right, yeah. So developers had to make tough calls yet again, and it's amazing that any of us get video games, right? So thank you to Schrier for writing it. And if you want, go read the full thing. I'll leave it in the comments below because there is some other context in there. I largely wanted to talk about that journey of launching in a bad state and then eventually getting the content out the door. Let me know what you think about the launched version of Halo Infinite. And if you like these videos, hey, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to know when my videos go live. Thank you so much to everybody who has subscribed. If you want to become a member, memberships are turned on. Thank you to all the members. I saw somebody just rejoin. I got to add them on this list. Thank you again to everybody. If you want to be part of that, click that join button down there. I'm going to get out of here, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody.